Let's talk about the counseling skill of minimal encouragers today. Minimal encouragers are brief verbal or nonverbal responses that a counselor uses to show that they're actively following, they're actively listening, and they're encouraging the client to share more. A good minimal encourager will help maintain the flow of the conversation without interrupting the client. Some of the purposes of the skill of minimal encouragers is to demonstrate attentiveness, to show that you're focused and that you're actively listening to what the client is sharing. And it's also to encourage deeper expression. So, by showing these minimal encouragers, we're showing the client, hey, I'm listening to what you're saying. Please continue sharing. Please continue talking. Please continue exploring. We want our client to continue to dive deeper into what really brought them into therapy. Lastly, one of the purposes is that it continues to show the client that they're being heard and understood. So imagine if we have a client that's sharing something kind of lengthy and I'm nodding my head and I'm saying, That's showing them that I'm following, I'm listening, and I want them to continue to share and to continue to dive deeper. Some nonverbal minimal encouragers might look like nodding your head when the client is talking and sharing something. You're nodding your head, you're showing that you're listening. It might be smiling appropriately. It might be leaning slightly forward when your client says something of particular significance. These subtle, nonverbal, minimal encouragers just shows your client, I'm listening, I hear you, and I want you to continue exploring and sharing. Some examples of verbal minimal encouragers are, I see, go on, right? Okay. These subtle verbal minimal encouragers also encourage the client to continue to explore and share. One thing I want you to be mindful of, especially with verbal minimal encouragers, is we don't want the minimal encouragers to be distracting. So, what I've noticed sometimes, especially with newer counselors, is we usually find one or two minimal encouragers that we really like, and then we use those over and over and over again. And although we may not notice that, it may become repetitive for our client and it might become distracting for our client. So, for example, we wouldn't want to just say right over and over and over again. We don't want to nod our head too much during a session or use hand gestures too much in a session where that actually might become distracting for the client. So, a good balance of use of verbal and nonverbal minimal encouragers is really helpful. And if we can mix it up and not use the same ones over and over again, that also will help them be less distracting for the client. When used appropriately, minimal encouragers help the client to feel safe to continue talking without disrupting or interrupting the flow of the session. Thanks for joining me today to talk about the counseling skill of minimal encouragers. I'll see you next time on Therapist Things with Dr. King.